Hey everybody, welcome back to what's becoming kind of Gnarlo's gaming corner here. We are going to take a look at Firefly, the board game today. I have got this on Tabletop Sim, and hopefully soon y'all will be able to get to see at least a three-way game between me and Mindfiend and Dwindon, and possibly even a four-way game. Dwindon's wife, Mrs. Dwindon, is also a big Firefly fan, so maybe we can get a game going with the four of us here real soon on Tabletop. But in the meantime, I thought I would show y'all the actual physical game. And in addition, we are actually going to play the solo scenario, because the game does come with an actual solo one-player scenario that you can play. So we are going to do that, and it's got three different goals. I think we are going to play through it with one of the goals on board. Here you are, you see the actual game layout, the map board of the verse right here in the front, and all the various card piles stacked all around it. It's one of those games that uses an awful lot of card stacks. Now, this is not the whole damn verse. This is just what comes in the core game. There are two big expansions for it, one called Calidasa and one called Blue Sun. Both of them add, as y'all see, here's the crease, comes about a third of the thing. Both of them add about this much more. So you got Calidasa, that comes off on the right side about 1/3 more over here. And then you've got the Blue Sun expansion that adds the same, adds about a third over here on this side. So yeah, whenever this game has actually got all the expansions and all loaded into it, we'd have to move it up onto the big table. The small one here just would not be enough to fit it. But it'll hold what we need pretty much for our little solo game here. Okay, as you see, and when you're playing the solo game, you have these things called disgruntled tokens. Usually you use them in the game whenever you do stuff, and we'll probably see it used in the game. You'll probably see it used in this one occasionally. You usually use these whenever you do something that ticks off your crew. For instance, if you go on a mission and you don't pay your crew afterwards, whoever you don't pay earns a disgruntled token. Another thing would be if you do a immoral mission, not an illegal one now, but an immoral mission. For instance, let's say stealing medication from settlers, something that's not moral. Some of the crew is moral, like for instance Kaylee. If you had Kaylee on your crew, she's quite moral. So if she was on a job where you stole medication and all, she would get a disgruntled token because she would not be happy about that. In this solo game, however, there's 20 of them that are available, and you put them in a stack, and they are used to denote the game turns. You have 20 game turns. And the end of the game turn is every time you move your ship. Whenever you decide to fly, you use up one of those tokens. So you've got basically 20 turns in order to complete the game here. Okay, let me see. As you see, setting up the game, you've got the verse laid out before you, all the various major planets. Right here in the center of Alliance space, you've got White Sun, and around White Sun, of course, is Londinium, the capital, essentially, of the capital of the Alliance, and that is where the Alliance cruiser here goes. It always sits off on the space here with Londinium. And then in the core game, you've got one Reaver ship, and it always goes in the far right corner there, right on top of the Firefly logo. So there's where the Reavers start out. Needless to say, the Reavers and the Alliance are generally not your friends, although you can kind of become friends with the Alliance. You can do stuff with the Alliance and kind of work with them. There are 4 different Firefly ships in the game, and you get to choose one of them. Basically, in the full player game, y'all roll dice, and the highest person goes first as far as choosing what Firefly they want. Being that it's a solo game, of course, we don't need to roll dice, and so we chose the Serenity because of course we do. Okay, all of the ships are the same. They've just got different names, and they've got different colored ship tokens here. ship models. The Serenity comes in kind of an orangey brown color. Guess it's supposed to be kind of like a brown coat, but it's more of an orangey type of color. As you see, each one, you can have 3 active jobs going on, and you can have 3 inactive jobs, 3 hidden jobs in your hand. You're able to have up to 6 crew, and of course we chose Malcolm as our leader. Everybody gets to choose a leader, and as you see, he's a pilot and a soldier. Those are 2 things that both have effects later in the game, as far as whenever you're drawing event cards and all. Some of them you'll get bonuses for being a pilot or a soldier or a mechanic or a companion, those kind of things. He is also moral. So even though he is the leader of the ship, if he were to take on an immoral mission on his own, he would not be happy about it. And he would end up giving himself a disgruntled token. As you see, he is a brown coat, so as a brown coat, one of his bonuses, if he takes a crime job, at the end of the job, not only does he get the normal pay, but he also gets to take an extra 500 on top of it. All the cards have nice little quotes from the thing. If I ever kill you, you will be awake, you'll be facing me, and you'll be armed. He is a very honorable brown coat. And as you see, his special skills is that you have to have certain things whenever you're misbehaving or when you're completing crimes and that sort of thing. You need certain factors, and he comes with 2 guns and a negotiation skill. That's what those 3 things on the left for. Okay, so that's him. Here's the Firefly. All the Firefly ships are exactly the same. They all come with 8 cargo holds. They come with 4 stashes where you can put your contraband and your fugitives and that sort of thing to keep them hidden. And then you get 6 fuel tokens and 2 spare parts, and that's what these are. And since they're half a space, you can fit 2 of them in each one of the holds here. And that's your starting off fuel and parts for the ship. And then each ship also comes with a drive core. And of course, at the start, they're all the same. You get to swap them out. This is just a Radion Accelerator Mark 1. Comes with a range of 5, and to do a full burn, you burn 1 fuel. There are 2 kinds of movement. You can do full burns, which means you can move your ship up to, or you have the potential of moving your ship up to a range of 5, and then you can do like a mosey. So for instance, let's say we're sitting here on Greenleaf. You could do it, you need to go Greenleaf, you need to go over to Harvest. Well, you can do a full burn and move up to 5, so you could go 1, 2, 3, or more appropriately 1, 2. That would take a full burn, and you'd have to burn a unit of fuel. The other thing is you can do a mosey. With a mosey, you just move 1 space. You don't have to burn any fuel, you don't have to draw any cards, but you also only move 1 space. So we'll see that. You'll pick that up as the game goes along too. It's a very easy game to pick up. All games are pretty easy to pick up. They just you just have to play through them a round or 2, and the next thing you know, you got the idea down. Okay, so that's that set up. As you see, there are 5 stacks of cards. If you look at the board, you will see little boxed areas, like right here. You got the Space Bazaar, and you got Amandol. And that means both of them are there. So whenever you are there, Space Bazaar, if you want to go shopping, you could go over here and draw some cards off the Space Bazaar and see what you get, see if there was anything there you wanted to buy. Or you could draw a card from Amandol here and see if he had a mission that you wanted to go on. So those are things that you can do. Same thing, Persephone up here. You got Persephone, and that's where Badger is. Over here at Athens is where Patience is. You've got Niska, who's around Ezra. You got the Regina area. Osiris here is where the space yards are. Down here is Silverhold. They're noted for a lot of weapons, and mercenaries tend to hang out there. And the other patron or boss that you can get jobs from is Harkin, and he was always found on the Alliance cruiser. So wherever the cruiser happens to be on the board, if you go there, you can get missions from Harkin. All right. So that's that. We are going to take a look at the mission cards next, the setup cards. All right, so what you see right here is the mission cards. As you see, they're absolutely beautiful. The art direction in this game, it is all very, very thematic, as you can see. The wonderful "Can't Take the Sky From Me" back of the cards and the four fireflies there. Very, very thematic game. They've done an awesome job with that. You got the green card, which is the standard setup. This pretty much applies to every situation. And then the blue cards are the ones for the actual scenarios. And they take precedent, as you see here at the very top line. The story cards take precedent over the setup cards. So we'll look at the standard game setup first. As you say, you place the reshuffle cards. If you have 3 or more players, the nav cards over here, every time you move and you're not just moseying, you pull a nav card. If you're in the kind of bluish white alliance space in the halo, you choose an alliance card for every space. If you're out here in the rim, in the border, you choose a border space, one of the red cards. And each one's got a reshuffle in it. It's kind of like the pandemic, where you've got the outbreak cards, where you take everything and reshuffle them and make the deck again. That's kind of what you do here. If you got 3 or more players, the cards go over here in the discard deck, so that you run through the whole deck first before you get to the reshuffle cards. In this case, they're somewhere inside these decks. Each one has got a reshuffle card ready to go, so we will see it whenever we get to it. All right, the Alliance ship goes at Londinium. The Reaver ship goes over there at the Firefly symbol, so they're ready to go. Then in a normal game, you would roll the dice. Whoever got the highest roll would choose their leader and their ship first. Whoever got the lowest roll would choose where they want their ship to start at. Obviously, this is not going to be an issue because Mr. Disgruntled over here doesn't get to choose a ship. So it's just us. We've already chosen the Firefly. The Serenity, we've already chosen Malcolm. Okay, we choose a story card, which we have there. The next step is every player gets the 6 fuel, the 2 parts. Y'all see them over here in our cargo hold. We've got our 6 fuel here. We've got our 2 parts. And we get $3,000 to start out with. And this is our stack of money. It's paper money. It's very nice looking, very gorgeous. It comes in hundreds, 200s, I think maybe 500s, thousands, and 2000s. Very, very pretty money, well produced, great art on it. So very nice. Normally we would break this open, we would get our 3,000 out of it, but I've talked before about how I like to kind of bling up my games a bit, like to pimp up my games a bit. So we're using this money quite a bit bigger. This is from the Big Damn Money expansion. And as you see, there's our 3,000 going on. It's got a lovely feel to it, a wonderful feel. It's like a linen finish. It isn't just regular paper. It's got like a linen finish to it. Big bills. These are actually, they're called prop size because they're not exact replicas, because I would imagine that the money in the movie and the TV shows is probably made out of something besides paper. It's probably more of a cloth or a rag type for durability. But it is the actual size and the actual printing and all. So this right here, like I said, is for like cosplayers and that sort of stuff, not just for game. It's the actual size of the money in the game. I mean, the money in the TV show and the movie. So there you go. We got our 3,000, and we're going to set it right over here besides Malcolm and all. So we'll have the money going. So the big damn money. And in fact, we have an entire pouch full of big damn money ready to go here. So there you go. With the Alliance symbol on it too. We won't even talk about that. Okay. So at this point, we've got our money. We've got our fuel. So next up, normally we would deal everybody job cards. But at this point, what we do is, in addition to our selecting our leader, we get to go over here into the, you'll have to excuse me again. Like I said the other day, I have still got a code. We get to go through these decks and we get to choose 4 crew members. Ordinarily, all you start out with is your leader, and you have to go over to the various places and actually hire crew. But in the solo game, you get to pick 4 people out of these decks to start off the game with, as long as they total $1,000 or less. So that's what we're going to do now. I am going to go through the decks, and we're going to pick out our 4 crew, and I will be back with you when we get that done. As you see, we have chosen our 4 crew members now from out of the stacks over here. We've gotten 2 from Osiris, 1 from Silverhold, 1 from Regina. Now this is once again only something you do in the solo game. In the actual game with 2 or more players, you actually have to, you only start with your leader and you fly around and find your crew that way from the various decks. So in the Regina deck, the Frontier Getaway, we got Kaylee. She is moral, she is a mechanic, she has the natural know-how, which means anytime you're rolling a mechanic test, she can re-roll it if you don't like it. We do have to pay her. If we were hiring her, had flown to a star location and hired her, in this case Regina, we would have to pay her $300 to hire her. But in this case, she starts out on our deck, and she has 3 mechanic tokens that she brings to our crew. Next up was Osiris Shipworks, and Osiris Shipworks, we got Inara. She is moral. She is a companion. She is an ambassador. She can re-roll any of the negotiation tests. She has got 3 negotiation skill, and added to Malcolm's 1, that gives us 4 negotiation, which is good, and a reroll. And she has the added bonus that she comes with fancy duds, which is something that you'll see. Some of the jobs require you to have certain things, like some of the jobs will require you to have transport, in which case you need like the little 4-wheel drive unit they have. Some of them will require stuff like fancy duds. Well, you don't have to have the gear fancy duds because she comes with it automatically. And she costs $300. Next up, we went to Silverhold. And in Silverhold, we got Zoe. She is moral. She is a soldier. That gives us 2 soldiers, counting Malcolm. She comes with 2 guns, so that adds to Malcolm's 2 guns. So we're doing good there. Plus, she gets to re-roll any firefight test, as you see there. And she would have cost $300. Finally up, that's $900. So we had a choice of maybe some of the zeros or one of the few 100s, and we've got the Interrogator. He is a medic. He brings 1 negotiate, so now we have a total of 5 negotiation skills. He would have cost $100. And any time that a crew member gets killed in a result of one of the tests, we roll a die. On a 1 to 4, that crew member is still killed. On a 5 or 6, the medic heals them up and they get to return to the ship. So we have got a total, that is our $1,000 worth of crew there. You can have up to 4 and up to $1,000. Once again, we didn't have to pay the fee to hire them, but anytime we finish a job, any of the people we take on the job have to be paid at the end of the job or they get disgruntled. So if we were to take all 4 of these on each one of the jobs, we would have to pay them $1,000 out of whatever the profits were, or the not profits. If it didn't make 1,000, we'd still owe them 1,000. So that's something to keep in consideration as well. So we will get those over here. We don't have any gear yet. We are going to have to fly around and get those. Next up, we will be taking a look at our jobs. Okay, an actual fact, before we take a look at jobs, you have to place your ships. I've seen some people in some of the playthroughs I've been watching, some folks have done that wrong. They've drawn their jobs and then chose their starting location based on where the jobs were. No, you have to place your ships first and then you draw the job. So we're going to take the Serenity here. And since we are playing, I'll jump ahead a little bit. Winning the game. In the solo game, you've got 3 goals. You can choose goal 1, which is the good, and you have to become solid with 5 different contacts. That means complete a mission for each of the 5 contacts. Goal 2 you can choose is the bad, in which you try and end the game with $15,000 or more. And goal 3 is the ugly, and that is you have to get 20 or more misbehaved cards. And you'll see those as we go along. A lot of the missions, especially the crime missions, require you to misbehave quite a bit. So in that case, you'd have to get 20 or more to misbehave. So in this case, we're going to make connections. So what I am going to start with is I am going to take the Serenity, and I am going to place it here at Londinium, right next to the Alliance cruiser, because we want to start out with Harkin. Harkin is the Alliance man. He is there at the, he's always found at the Alliance cruiser. And I figure let's talk to him first and try to run a mission for him first before we end up doing crimes and getting warrants and ended up getting a wanted rating. So his jobs are all legal jobs, and of course they're all low-paying jobs, but that'll get us started out. And we do have the 3,000 starting money that we have here to kind of make up for the difference. So at this point, we are going to take a look. And in the full player game, I said you roll the dice. High roll gets to pick what ship and leader they want first, and you go on down. And then once everyone's picked out the leader, whoever went last, whoever picked last, gets to choose their starting location first, and it goes in reverse order then. So that keeps from having the leader, whoever rolled the highest, keeps them from having an undue advantage. They get to pick their leader first, but the person that goes last gets to pick where they start first. Now we are going to deal off one card from each one of these decks. So from Patience, we've got a good old-fashioned robbery. It's illegal. We have to misbehave twice. We have to cover our tracks, and it's going to pay $3,000. Niska, kidnapping for fun and profit. It's another illegal and immoral. You'll find that a lot on his, as you would imagine, being Miska being who it is. We have to misbehave twice, deliver them, and as you see the needs there, before you can even start this mission, you have to have 2 guns and a diplomacy, and that's one thing we do. If we're a soldier, which Malcolm is and Zoe is, we would get a $300 bonus if we complete it, and he pays $3,500. Next up is Harkin, which is where we are here. Harkin has a legal job. It's just a transport. We're going to load up 2 passengers at Bellerophon and drop them off at Albion. And that gets us $700. So as you see, the legal jobs don't pay a lot, especially if they come from Harkin. But we'll probably keep this one since we're right there with him. And we're in the White Sun area. And we want to get solid with him first. Next up is Badger. Making the love connection. We have to load a passenger and deliver them. It's a legal job. It pays $1,800. You see, it's got some requirements. And if we have a companion, which we do because we have a Nara, we get an extra $500 with that one. So that's a good one to consider. And then Amandul. Feeding the Alliance fat cats. We have to load cargo and deliver it. It needs some negotiation. It's got a companion bonus. It is legal and gives $1,300. So at this point, we're going to look through this. You're dealt 5 cards, 1 from each of them, and you have to discard down to 3. You can discard all of them if you want. You don't actually have to hang on to any of them, but you can't keep any more than 3 of them. And also the other part is, if you're playing in a multiplayer game, these, until you start working them, as long as they're just in your hand and you haven't actually started working them yet, they're kept hidden. Or kept turned over. I mean, they'll know that you, for instance, let's say we kept these 3. Your opponents would know that you have a job from Badger, that you have a job from Amandul, and that you have a job from Harkin, but they don't know what the job is. Okay, until you start working it. As soon, for instance, Harkin here says load 2 passengers. As soon as you went to Bellerophon up there and you loaded the 2 passengers, you would then flip it over and they'd know what you have and where you're going. And you can have 3 open jobs on the board and 3 hidden jobs on the board in your hand. So right now we're going to decide which of these 3 we want. And I will show you in just a moment where we are. we have chosen the two jobs that we want to stay. We could have had up to three, but only two of them really interested us. One is the labor transport. We chose that, of course, because we are right here at Harkin, so we can take it. We have to go to Bellerophon, which is just a little bit north of where we are, pick up two passengers, and deliver them to Albion, which is right over here. So that will net us 700, and if we complete it, it will make us solid with Harkin. Next up, we had making the love connection, which is go to Sinon. So once we leave Albion, we can fly right over here to Sinon. And at Sinon, we will load up one passenger, and we need two guns and a negotiate, which will have those. And then we need to go to Georgia, up here to Boros. So we'll fly from Sinon over here to Boros at Georgia. And I figure at that point, what we can do is we can then we can go up there to Regina. We could go visit Niska if we really wanted to, or we can go to Patient. So we've got several things that we can do up there to see if we want to pick up another job and try to get solid with either Niska or Patience at that point. So next up, the last thing that we have to do is what they call priming the pump. And in this case, what you do is you turn over the top three cards from each one of these decks. So and it just shows, because when you buy equipment, you can draw it from here or you can draw it from the discard pile. You can buy anything out of the discard pile, or you can draw three off the top of the shipworks. So what we will do is we'll prime the pump. First one up is a fake ID, an Alliance identity card. It automatically counts as solid with Harkin, and the crew carrying fake IDs ignores any wanted crew role. Costs $1,600, very expensive. Second up, we've got some med staff. You could hire a medic, so that is in there. And then another med staff. So as you see, Osiris Shipworks is a good place to find medical staff, not just, ship parts. Persephone is up next, and if we were to go to Persephone, we could find a ship upgrade of a crybaby. Always nice. That helps you if the Alliance cruiser comes into your space. This helps you get away from them. So crybaby's up first, and then we have Bree. Bree is a mechanic with some black market ties. So if we didn't have Kaylee already in our crew, Bree might be a choice. And the third one is Kaylee's fluffy pink dress. If we were needing some fancy duds and we didn't have, Nara already comes with fancy duds. If we were needing some, we could buy these for $1,000 and get her fluffy pink dress. And it has the advantage of it gives you an extra diplomacy. And when you see right there buying from suppliers, you can buy up to 3 cards instead of the usual 2. Next up, let's prime the pump at Silverhold. At Silverhold, we get Doralee, who is a moral medic hillfolk. And if you got at least 3 hillfolk in your crew, she counts as an extra gun. She's pretty cheap, only 100. Next up is Jane. Jane, of course, is our public relations guy. He's a merc. He's got 2 guns, and as you see, his special thing is when you go on a mission, normally a crew member can only carry 1 piece of gear. The various gear you buy, like, Kaylee's fluffy pink dress is a piece of gear, for instance. So one person could carry that. Couldn't use anything else other than the pink dress. That would be the gear. But Jane can carry up to 3 gear. And the third is some hill folk. A lot of hill folk at Silverhold. And as you see, they count as moral, they count as hill folk, and they count as an angry mob. They do not cost anything. Over at the Space Bazaar, we are going to find a scrapper. He's a crew member that you can hire. And when you're doing salvage operations, like when you're traveling around and find a salvage ship, he will get you +2 fuel from it. Next up is a gun hand. That's your basic mercenary. and gives you one gun, and anytime it's killed, it just gets discarded back into the deck because there's a lot of mercenaries around, and they're cheap. And third up is some hastily forged documents. They count as a fake ID, but you do have to discard those. Those aren't quite like the Alliance ID up there that you get to keep. These you have to discard them, or you can add it to your diplomacy tests. No telling what you're going to find at the Space Bazaar. Regina is our last market to prime. And let's see what we get there. Crow's Knife, which you discard that to add to your weapon rolls, your firefight rolls. We have Bester, who's a genius mechanic. And yeah, enough said about that. And we have the Grange brothers, two of a kind. They can carry 2 gear, and you have to pass 2 Alliance wanted crew rolls to dodge capture on them. They've got that special. They come out as a merc. So that's got the markets primed over there. Okay, that has got everything in the game set up. We are ready to go. We will be doing that in just a moment. But as I said, I do like to bling out the games play a bit. You've already seen the big damn money. The other thing is, this is the first player token. It goes around as everybody takes a turn, one of Wash's dinosaurs. It's nice, it's cute, it's attractive, it's a nice piece, but we are going to be replacing it with this. It's not necessary as far as we won't be passing it around, but it will look good sitting on our dash over here. The other part that we are going to bling out, you've got the Serenity here, so we are going to replace it with this. Actually, I think that might be hard. All right, maybe that's a little bit too much of a bling, so we are going to just leave it with that piece. All right, that's set up, and next time we will start with our first turn here. So we will see you in the next episode.